Buzzwords and misinformation. I want to talk about how these things work and what they are. Now, buzzwords, as far as I'm concerned, what a buzzword is something that has a predetermined or pre-programmed response in the person who hears such a word. Now, it could be pre-planned or designed or purely just capitalized upon. But a buzzword is a loaded phrase or a loaded word that, like I said, creates a pre-programmed response. A good example of a buzzword in this sense is, or the phrase rather, conspiracy theorist. It's pretty well known and common knowledge amongst many people now that the phrase conspiracy theorist was created in order to discredit the people who are talking about such conspiracy theories. Even amongst people who are aware of this still has an effect to some degree. Another one that people might not be so aware of, I believe, is the phrase mainstream media, especially when you're speaking against it. If you are to say, I don't watch the mainstream media, I don't care for the mainstream media. This is related to the conspiracy theories because mainstream media is now a buzzword. And if you say this, people will make an inference that you don't trust the media, you don't trust the government, therefore you're some sort of conspiracy theorist. Now, what is attached to the phrase conspiracy theorist? Flat earther, reptilian lizard people, tinfoil hat wearing, all this aliens, all the things that people love to make fun of, feel like they're so much more intelligent than. And this is something that you will be assumed to be just for telling someone that you don't watch the mainstream news, or even if you just say you don't care for it, but you use it specifically, mainstream media. Now that puppet in the USA has said it, things like fake news versus mainstream news. This is what happens. Now, as far as the hierarchy of misinformation, uses buzzwords to intentionally promote misinformation in many cases. But the hierarchy of misinformation in relation to such things as conspiracy theories and the buzzword conspiracy theory, when you try and share some sort of taboo or debatable topic, shall we say, about the reality of our existence or the reality of our situation also, a very common rebuttal or response I hear to the sharing of alternative ideas or truths, things that are considered alternative. Many people like to say something along the lines of, that can't be because so many people would have to be in on it. It would never hold, the lie would never hold up. How come nobody's talking about it? Well, for starters, that's a response to somebody talking about it. So that sort of is a moot point. Yeah, we're talking about it. So therefore, the cat is out of the bag if we're talking about it. Yeah, there's plenty of red herrings and misinformation about misinformation to steer you right off the track, to keep you away from the real truth, so to speak. But as far as people thinking, so many people have to be in on it, well, a lot of people are in on it, but a lot of people don't even realize that they're in on it. It only takes one lie told the right way to the right people for it to spread like wildfire, and it's so much harder to undo. Think about the word pedophile or rapist. Now, both these things, I'd say most people would agree that pedophiles and rapists are really shit people. No one likes them. No one really wants to give them a second chance. So think about now the people who are falsely accused of being pedophiles and rapists. If you've never met someone, you don't know them at all, and one of the first things you hear about someone is that they are a pedophile or a rapist. It's extremely hard to undo that sour image that you have of them in your mind, especially when you have nothing else from them for them to defend themselves with. It leaves such a bitter, sour taste in your mouth that's how you brand them. A brand is more or less for life. And they're buzzwords. They are buzzwords. Now I want to share a personal example of how misinformation is spread willingly and knowingly and without care. Now I know a girl who was a friend's ex-girlfriend from years ago, and she was studying to become a teacher. And she was studying at a Catholic university. Now this girl's not a Catholic at all. She was not raised Catholic. Her family's in no way, shape or form a Catholic family. But she's studying at a Catholic university because it was more affordable. And part of her teaching studies was to do the Catholic education, like educating children. She needed to know things about Catholicism. She needed to know theology or theosophy, whatever the correct term is for whatever they teach in Catholic schools. And I confronted her about this. I said, "Are you a Catholic?" She said, "No." And I said, "So why are you then promoting teaching children Catholicism if you don't believe in it, you don't care for it? Why are you spreading it if you don't?" And she said, "Because it's easier for me to get a job as a Catholic school teacher. She's more likely to get a job." So she's willing to lie. She's willing to spread misinformation for money. Now, overall, I wouldn't say she's a bad person. I think that's a terrible fucking thing to do. And I think it's a great mark against her, just her in general. But for the most part, she's a good person. But this is something that good people do willingly, just for a job. Now, how many other people are doing this? And how many people are doing similar such things in different areas of academic interest? You see what happens in school. Most people have been through the schooling system of some sort, public school, private school, whatever. It's very, very similar in many, many ways. Now, a lot of what you learn in school, you're not taught to test it. Even in the sciences, you're not really even doing first-hand experiments. A lot of what is done in science class, at least in my experience, going through school and studying in the sciences, was that mostly what you're doing is studying experiments that have happened in a theoretical situation. Or they might have been really done by someone else, but how do you know? And all you're doing is discussing results that you have not found yourself. Now, if that initial study was wrong or straight up dishonest, and everyone's basing their education and their studies on that, and everyone's willing to go along with it because that's what you have to do in order to pass the test, and you have to pass the test if you want to succeed, get the job and do whatever you need to do. This is how the hierarchy of misinformation is maintained. Everybody in the schooling system is in on it. Most people are in on it without realizing, without caring, without knowing. Some people realize this is bullshit, this isn't real, whatever, and they do it anyway just so they can get ahead in life. Now, how many people are doing that and forgetting to check the reality? This is the hierarchy of misinformation.